So the Novablast 3 has been one of my favorite trainers so far this year. So what happens when you mix that shoe with the foam from the Metaspeed? Well, you get the Superblast. I've done a few runs in the shoe so far, and I'm ready to give you my first impressions. But just a quick disclaimer first that Asics did provide these shoes to me for the purpose of review, but they're not paying me, and all my thoughts and words are my own. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into the specs. So this is a thick shoe with the stack height of 45mm in the heel and 37 in the forefoot with an 8mm heel to toe drop. The weight comes in at 8.4 ounces with a price of $220, and I put this in the Super Trainer category. So let's get more into detail with the shoe overview. Starting with the upper, it uses a jacquard mesh that reminds me kind of a mix between the Novablast 3 upper and the Metaspeed Sky Plus upper. The midsole has a thick slab of Flight Foam Turbo with a bottom layer of Flight Foam Blast Plus, and there is no plate. The outsole uses a hard plus rubber with coverage in the high wear areas. So if you've tried the Novablast 3, I thought the fit was very similar to the Superblast, which for me is true to size. Though I did kind of like the fit a little bit better of this shoe, and I think that has to do with the tongue. It just feels a little more premium, a little more padded, and doesn't bunch up like it did on the Novablast. Alright, now let's talk about the ride of this shoe. So despite it being a super thick shoe, it actually has a super smooth ride and felt pretty light underfoot. So this shoe does not have a plate, but I'm glad that it doesn't, because I thought that the foam was firm enough where you didn't need that stabilizing agent, yet it still had that energetic pop. So I've been reaching for this shoe a lot lately just because I feel like it's been handling everything I throw at it very well. And honestly, I could even see people racing in this shoe, but for me, I've primarily been using it for my longer runs where I want my legs to feel happy afterwards. Though when I have picked up the pace in this, it has come alive and you really notice that Flight Foam Turbo. Alright, now it's time for a few quick comparisons. First shoe I'm going to compare it to is the Novablast 3. So I'd say the main difference between these shoes is going to be that midsole. The Superblast obviously has a lot higher stack, and it does have that Flight Foam Turbo and that little layer of Flight Foam Blast Plus, while the Novablast is 100% Flight Foam Blast Plus. So I don't know if it's just because I have 100 miles on these shoes and they're pretty well broken in, and these guys aren't quite broken in yet, but I did notice when I was going at slower paces that the Novablast 3 did feel maybe a little bouncier, a little softer, but again, I just need to break in the Superblast more, I think. Overall, both these shoes have been super versatile, have been able to handle whatever I throw at them, and like I said, I've really enjoyed training in the Novablast 3, and now I've been picking up the Superblast more just because it feels like a higher cushion version of it. The next shoe I'm going to compare it to is the New Balance SC Trainer. So both these shoes are very thick, over 40mm, with 47 in the heel for the SC Trainer and 45 in the Superblast. But the fuel cell in the SC Trainer is super soft, super squishy, so it does need a full-length carbon plate in there to help stabilize it, which, like I mentioned, this shoe does not, and I don't think it needs a plate. But although these are both very thick shoes, the SC Trainer definitely feels like a thick shoe because it is very heavy, while the Superblast is the same weight as the Novablast 3, I believe, so it is very lightweight, and I think it's like 2.5 ounces less than the SC Trainer. So for me, that was really helpful when I was picking up the pace. This shoe, I felt like I could get faster, my legs weren't getting tired as quickly, while this guy, I loved that plushness to it, but when picking up the pace, it just kind of felt heavy and clunky. Either way, if you're looking for a ton of cushion, both these shoes will provide it. For me though, they just kind of have different purposes, with me preferring to use this one for kind of slower, longer stuff, while this one handles some of those quicker days better. The last comparison is the Nike Zoom Fly 5, which here is another illegal shoe with that thick midsole. Has an EVA shell with a recycled ZoomX core and a full-length carbon plate in there, and This shoe again is very heavy, and I was hoping that this one would feel more plush like the SC Trainer, but it is very firm and just isn't my favorite ride overall. The Superblast is again way lighter and more versatile than the Zoom Fly 5. I would much prefer to use this shoe in pretty much any run scenario than the kind of brickish feeling heavy Zoom Fly 5. So the Superblast takes what you love from the Novablast and supersizes it. It reminds me a lot of both the Metaspeed Sky Plus and the Novablast 3. And I think that this is a very versatile shoe that I could actually see a lot of people choosing to race for half and full marathons. If you're the type of person that typically races in the shoe that you train in and you aren't looking for those carbon fiber shoes that are designed for the elites, this is a good all-around shoe where you could handle your everyday training, your long runs, but also be light enough and responsive enough for race day. I still have a lot of miles to put on the shoe before I give you my final verdict, which will come in my full review video. Subscribe so you don't miss that. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep on running.